Hi everyone, welcome to my channel, Notes from the Sewing Room. My name's Becky. Thank you for joining me today. It's really nice to have you with me. If you are new to my channel is all about sewing and a few craft activities thrown in. So if that's something that you are interested in, I would love it if you could hit that like button and consider subscribing to my channel as well if you'd like to, so you keep up to date with all of my latest content. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing what I made during the month of March. I've got a few different things to show you, including things that I made for myself and a couple of bits that I made for my husband as well. It was his birthday during March, so I really enjoy making things as like homemade gifts, and I know that he appreciates receiving those as well. So I wanted to make him a couple of things and he really likes them, so I'm looking forward to sharing those with you as well. It was also my mother-in-law's birthday during the month of March, and because of everything that's been going on, we've actually not seen her for months and months and months, so I wanted to send her something really special in the post, so I also made a little something for her and sent it along as well. So she really likes that, so I'll tell you a little bit about what I made in a while. If you have watched a few of my videos before, you'll notice that I'm in a different location today, and that's because I'm kind of losing the light today. So I thought I would come out to my summer house. It's basically like a conservatory in the garden to, film my video, because in our dining room, it's quite a dark house, and towards the end of the day, it can get a little bit dull. So I just thought I'd pop out here and film the video instead. So hopefully it's a little bit brighter and hopefully a little bit kind of nicer to watch rather than watching a kind of gloomy setting. So before I tell you about what I made during the month of March, I'll just tell you a little bit about what I'm wearing today. So you may notice this top from one of my previous makes video, or perhaps if you do follow me on Instagram, you may have seen it on there. So this is the Tilly and the Buttons Billy jumper, and I really love this jumper. And do you know what, for me it's actually one of the best things about the weather getting a bit colder again is that I can bring out things like this. So that's really super in my book, because I do like a nice cozy jumper, particularly one that is a little bit stylish like this one. So I love the poofy shoulders and the nice big sleeves, if you can see that. One thing that I would change if I was to make this again in the future, as I've said before, if you've heard me talking about this pattern, is that the arms have come up slightly short on me. So as you can see, it's kind of bracelet length rather than full length. So I did actually change that in the second jumper version that I made. But you know, it's just one of those things. It doesn't stop me wearing it, and I still really like the jumper, so that's okay. I'm also wearing my trusty Stitch Sisters headband, which is from a little free tutorial on their YouTube channel. So everything that I'm mentioning today, by the way, I will try and put down in the description box so that you can find the fabrics and the patterns and the shops and whatnot that I mention if you'd like to. I'm also wearing a homemade denim skirt here, which you probably can't see. If I just stand up for a second, you'll be able to see it. So again, you've probably seen this one before. It's a really old one, to be honest, but I love wearing it. And that is it's actually the Can-Be dress, and I've hacked it into a skirt, and that's by Sewaholic Patterns. So there we are. I really must make more skirts actually, so I'm going to be filming my April plans video shortly, and I'm definitely going to be making some skirts and whatnot during April, just because I need more, because I've just got two that I kind of wear all of the time, and it's just getting a little bit boring, to be honest. So it'd be nice to have a couple of extra bits in my wardrobe like that. Anyway, let's get to it, and I'll tell you what I've been making over the last few weeks. The first thing that I wanted to talk to you about today is a new pattern, or new to me, and that is the Norma Blouse by Fibre Mood Patterns. Now this was actually the first time that I've ever used a Fibre Mood pattern, and of course it was because of that, it was the first time that I've ever made the Norma Blouse as well. So if you're unfamiliar with it, I'm just going to hold up my iPad so that you can actually see it on the screen. So there you are, you can probably see a bit of a glare actually on there, but that's what it's supposed to look like. So I've got all of my instructions here on my iPad. I made it in a size 10. If I just zoom along here, I can tell you what the size range is. So it's available in size 4 through to a size 30. So the size 4, in terms of the finished garment measurements, this is in centimetres, is a bust of 87.25, and the hem circumference is 86. And If you're making the size 30, the bust final measurement is 151.75 and the hem circumference is 140. So I had a look at the measurements and I decided that the size 10 worked best for me. So that's what I made. I did actually make a few alterations to this. Firstly, after seeing a few pictures on Instagram and kind of reading what other people had said about it, I knew that it was going to come up a little bit short on me. I'm quite a tall lady, I'm 5'10", and I don't like things that are too short and they pop out of my skirt and stuff when I've got them tucked in. I just find it really irritating. So I decided to lengthen this by 5 centimetres, which seems to have worked quite well. The other change that I made was to the arms, so that's to the cuffs. I found that on the size 10, for me, the cuff section was just going to be a little bit too fitted around my arm. It would have been okay, but I just thought I'm going to find it a little bit frustrating and I'm going to be aware of it, if you know what I mean. And I just thought, because of that, I might not want to wear the shirt. So I decided just to extend that pattern piece just slightly by about 1 centimetre on each side. And it's made it much looser. I suppose it's slightly less gathered because of that around the cuff area, but you know, it's just one of those things. It doesn't really make that much difference, to be honest. So let me hold this up initially and then I'm going to slip it on so you can see it. I'll also try and put in a couple of pictures of me wearing it as well, if that's helpful. I love the fabric that I used for this. So I actually decided to make this blouse as part of the Sew Yellow for Endo challenge, which has been organised over on Instagram. And it's all about raising awareness for endometriosis. So I'm just gonna hold this up so you can see it. So this is my blouse. So as I said, I'm gonna slip this on shortly so you can see it. I will try and put in a little bit of video footage as well so that you can see some of the details a little bit more close up. So I've used some lovely gold buttons down the front, if you can see those there. So I'm not sure where I got those gold buttons from. I think I've had them in my stash of buttons for quite a while. I'm a little bit of a button hoarder. So anytime I see some gorgeous buttons, I either buy them, or if something is going to, you know, be recycled in some way, I decide, oh, they're nice buttons, I'm going to take those off, I'm going to keep them for a future project. Love a bit of upcycling, so why not? But I'm not actually sure where these gold buttons came from, but I just thought they were going to work really, really well with this yellow fabric. So I got this fabric, I think it's a viscose, it's kind of a viscosey rayon type thing. I think it might be a viscose, and I bought this from Felicity Fabrics, and I was so lucky to get some of this because I went onto the website and it sold out. So I decided to send Felicity Fabrics a little message just to say, if you get any more of it in stock, I'd really, really like to buy some. And they were so lovely, and they got in touch with me the next day and said, we've got a little bit left, would you like to buy it? And I was like, yes, please. So I said anything from 1 metre up I'd like to buy, and luckily they'd got 1.5 meters, so I was able to get that, and I'd got a tiny bit left over. So I think you could probably get this blouse out of less than 1.5 meters if you were not lengthening it and whatnot like I have. But if you are adding that extra length, then you do need that little bit extra fabric, I guess. But I really love this fabric. It's got a lovely heart print all over it, if you can see that. And it just works really nicely for this blouse because it's lovely and floaty. I like the nice big sleeves that it's got on here. Although if you did use a stiffer fabric, so maybe some other kind of cotton or a linen or anything that's got a little bit more body to it, I suppose, those sleeves are going to be much more emphasised. So it just depends on what look you're going for. But for me, I wanted something soft, something drapey, and just something kind of pretty to look at. So I think this fabric works really, really nicely for that. So I'm just going to slip it on and then you can see what the fit's like. So this is my blouse. So as you can see, this is the fit, to be honest. I'm sat here wearing it so you can see, but that's what the arms look like when they're actually on. So that section there, the cuff section, would have been much tighter. I mean, to be honest, it looks quite loose now, but I just prefer it like that. But if it had been, you know, much tighter, I just think it would have been, yeah, just a little bit annoying for me. So I think that works a little bit better, but you've still got plenty of gathering around there, if you can see. It's also gathered on the shoulder section as well up there, and it's finished with a facing around the neck and then down the centre front section, and then the hem is just turned up like you turn up any hem. Now I did find this pattern a little bit of a challenge to begin with. Not because of the instructions. I think the instructions were fine. So if you are, well, I think if you're an experienced sewer, or you know, this is one of the first shirt projects that you're making, I think the instructions are fine, and you know, you can work your way through there, and I'm sure you'd be absolutely fine. However, I found that the cutting out process was a little bit of a head scratcher, and I actually put a message out on Instagram just to say, can anyone help me out with this? And considering, you know, I've made quite a few things before, I was just a little bit lost by it. And that was because I had a look at my pattern pieces and there was loads and loads of lines on there, and I just thought, goodness me, which ones am I supposed to cut? And it turns out, and I didn't know this before, that on the Fibre Mood website you can actually just print your size rather than printing the whole size range. And I didn't do that, obviously, so I printed the version that had got sizes 4 to 30 on. And not only that, I found that in the instructions, unless I've missed it, it doesn't actually say on there what the seam allowance is. And I was a little bit concerned that I'd either do too much or too little, and because of that it would be too big or too small. So that's one of the questions that I asked on Instagram. So thank you very much to everyone who came back to me and gave me information. Now over on the Fibre Mood website there is actually information about how to do the seam allowances and that kind of thing. I was actually thinking about recording a whole review of this shirt, so if that is something you're interested in, then do leave me a comment below and let me know if that's something that you would like me to do, and I'll try and do that for you. But there is information on the Fibre Mood website of basically how to, you know, use their patterns. Now, one of the things that I found out was that this has actually got a 1 centimetre seam allowance, but there's actually a seam allowance line on the actual pattern pieces. So rather than cutting the line that would be for the size 10, there was actually another line that I had to cut instead, which would be the, you know, it would include the seam allowance. So I actually found that quite confusing because there were so many lines on the pieces, like I said, on the pattern pieces. So I ended up getting my tape measure out and actually measuring from the size 10 outwards so that I knew that I was in the right place. So I decided to just use a coloured pencil. I got an orange pencil and I just drew around the lines that I actually needed to cut, because I just could see myself going completely wrong with it otherwise. But I think after I'd actually cut out all the pattern pieces, it was absolutely fine. And from there on, it was quite an easy make. But in the beginning, I was just like, really? I'm not sure if I'm doing this right. And I was worried it was going to go wrong. But, you know, it's just one of those things. It's all a bit of a learning process, isn't it? Sewing your own clothes sometimes. But I think because of what I've learned from this project, I think I'll be absolutely fine doing a future Fibre Mood project. But unfortunately, when I actually printed out this pattern, I also printed out a couple of other Fibre Mood patterns and I sent them away to be printed on A0 paper. So I don't really want to have to, you know, pay for them to be printed out again. So I think I'm just going to have to keep in mind what I learned this time, and that, you know, you've got that extra seam allowance line, and then hopefully I'll be fine making both the Ida blouse and the Alice jumper as well. So whenever I get around to doing those, my sewing list just seems to grow and grow and grow, and it's quite difficult to keep on top of it sometimes. But I really like this blouse, and I've not really had an opportunity to wear it yet, but I am hoping to wear it at some point soon. I think it'll be nice when the weather's a little bit warmer, because it'll be a nice cool blouse to wear. I'll just stand up in a second so that you can see the overall length, but I think it looks really nice tucked into a skirt as well. So this is what it looks like tucked into my skirt. So you can see it's got the nice big sleeve there, which is really pretty. And yeah, it tucks in nicely if I've tucked it in properly. And you've got plenty of room in there. I didn't take any room out of the body. I probably could have done, but I decided not to in the end because I just wanted it to be nice and floaty. So if I just untuck myself, you'll be able to see the rough length. So if I just scan down a little. So that's the length of the shirt. So yeah, because I've added that extra 5 centimetres on, it comes down to my kind of high hip area. So, but I'm quite pleased with that. And to be honest, I probably won't ever wear it out, but it just gives me that extra room to tuck it into my skirt so that it's not just popping out all the time and, you know, flapping about. So yeah, I'm quite pleased with that. So overall, I think this was a really enjoyable make, even though the beginning of the process was a little bit of a challenge. But if you have had a go at making the Norma blouse, I would love it if you could let me know how you found the sewing process and what kind of fabric you used, because I'd potentially make this blouse again. Now I have, you know, had a go at it and I kind of know what I know, if that makes sense, then I think I'd probably enjoy the overall process even more next time. So the next pattern that I wanted to chat to you about today is the Friday Pattern Company square neck top. So I've actually made this project before in a woven fabric, but this time I wanted to make it in a jersey fabric. So the good thing about this Friday Pattern Company pattern is that you can make it up in either a woven or as a jersey fabric. So I like that because I feel like you're getting maximum use out of the actual pattern. So if you haven't seen the pattern, this is what it looks like. So you can see it on the lovely model here. And on me, it comes slightly shorter than that. So I decided for my second version that I would add a little bit onto the bottom. I think I had it done off the top of my head about 2 inches. I did actually record a quick sew along for this pattern if you are interested. So I'll link that down in the description box below if you are. So I'll just hold the pattern up so that you can see it, and then again, I'll slip it on afterwards. So again, I learned some things with this particular pattern. Because I'd made it before, I thought, oh, I kind of know what size is going to be best. Now, because I made it in the woven to begin with, I made it in a size medium, and I made it in a kind of lightweight crepey type fabric. And because of that, I think it you know, worked well. It was kind of really drapey, and I made it slightly short, to be honest. I kind of just went with, you know, the measurements that were in the pattern pack originally. So this time I definitely wanted to add a little bit on. So that was all okay. However, I just made it slightly too big. I decided to go from, I think it was a size small at the top and then grade out to a large at the bottom. So the pattern is actually available in an extra small through to a 7X. So if you are making extra small in terms of the finished garment measurements, you're looking at a 33-inch bust and a hem circumference of 33 inches. And if you're making the 7X, the bust would be 60 inches and the hem measurement would also be 60 inches. So I decided, like I said, that I fell between the small and the large. So the small bust measurement was 35. My actual bust measurement is 32 inches, but I thought I'd quite like a little bit of wiggle room in there, so I thought 35 would be okay. And my hip measurement is 40, so I thought, well, I'll go down to size large, and because that hem circumference is 40. However, it turned out far too big. So I've got quite a lot of room in. So I decided, do you know what? If I really want to wear this top, I should probably take a little bit out of the side seams. So that's what I decided to do after I'd filmed my sew along video. But unfortunately, during the unpicking process, I managed to make a hole in my top, which is just a nightmare, isn't it? You've spent all this time making something and then you just think, oh my goodness, I can't believe I've done this. I think I just got a little bit too excited with that unpicker, but never mind, I've managed to save it. But what I've had to do is I've made it a little bit shorter, just because the hole ended up being in that little bit of extra length that I'd added on to the pattern. So here it is. So I'm just going to slip this on in a second so that you can see it. But I love the square neckline. I'm really into square necklines at the minute. I just think they're so flattering. It's finished with a facing around the top here and of course on the back section. So I used a twin needle to stitch around this section here. I also used a twin needle to finish off the arm sections. So it's got grown on sleeves, which are quite nice. You don't have to do any faffing kind of setting in sleeves or anything like that. And I also used a twin needle to finish off the hem section. I made my top using a cotton jersey, and I got this from Guthrie & Garney in Birmingham. You can buy from them online, of course. And I'm always pleased with the service from Guthrie & Garney. I think the customer service there is amazing, and they just have a real good range of jersey fabrics, whether that's sweatshirting, cotton jersey, viscose jersey, whatever it is. I'm always really pleased with the quality of fabric that I've had from there, and this one is no different. It's a lovely lovely feeling fabric that's really soft against your skin, and I just love the rosy red fabric. I just think it, you know, it kind of suits my colouring. And you just see my headband slipping a little bit there. I am desperate to go to the hairdressers. I can't wait for them to reopen, so I feel like I'm counting down the days until they reopen. I just really want to get my colour done of my hair. That's why I'm just constantly wearing headbands to try and cover up my root section. But there we are. So anyway, I'm going to slip this on so that you can see the fit of it, but I'm really pleased with it now. So here is my square neck top. As you can see, it's got a lovely, just a lovely neckline. I just love the square neck. It's not too deep, so I don't feel like, you know, I'm exposed in any way, which is good for me because I don't like things that are too low cut generally. It's got more of a scooped section around the back there, so it's not actually square on the back, it's just on the front. I like the sleeves. I don't think that they're too short. I think they kind of work quite well. And to be honest, even though I've had to, you know, take the shirt up a little bit because of my little accident that I had, it's still not too bad in terms of the length, and I much prefer the fit now. So I'll just stand up so that you can see it, but it's much more fitted. If you do watch my sew along video, or you have watched it before, you would see that I had quite a lot of room in those side sections, and now it's just a little bit more fitted. So to be honest, if I did make this in a knit again, I think I would just make the straight size small, because of course if you're making it in some kind of knit fabric that's got a good amount of stretch, then it's probably going to be okay anyway. But I have taken quite a lot out of those side seams, and it's supposed to be quite a boxy top, but because I'm more pear-shaped, I do tend to, you know, make things a little bit more A-line generally. But to be honest, now I've taken it up, it probably is quite boxy, but it still seems to work quite well. So I'm much more happy with it. So I'm just going to scan up my camera and stand up, and then you'll be able to see the fit a little bit more and the length of it. Right, there we go. So that is the length of the top now. So as you can see, I've got plenty of room in there. So that's the top of my skirt. So I've got plenty of room to actually tuck that in nicely. And I just think that the overall fit is just so much better now I've taken that room out of the side seams. I've still got room to move around nicely, but it's just a little bit more flattering for me, I think. So I'm really pleased with this. I would definitely recommend it as a project, and it just looks good in both the knit and the woven fabrics, to be honest. I think if I had to choose which one I preferred making it in, either the knit or the woven, I may well go for the woven, but it would probably quite a close run little competition if we were going for the knit or the woven. I think they're both really nice, but I love my heart version that I made in the woven fabric. So I'll try and slot in a picture so that you can see me in the woven version. And then if you are thinking of making this project, hopefully you'll get a little bit of an idea of what both versions look like. If you've made this project before, I'd like to know how you found the fit on this project, and you know, if you would make it again. I think it is definitely a project that's suitable for beginners. I think the trickiest thing is actually adding in the facing, but apart from that, if you take your time, you'll be absolutely fine. The square corners could be a little bit tricky, I guess, but as long as you follow the instructions, I thought the instructions in this pattern were really good. And even though it's a basic t-shirt pattern, it is a little bit different because of the square neckline, and because of that I just thought I'm going to try this because it's a little bit different and perhaps a little bit more interesting than some of the other t-shirts that I'd already got in my cupboard. So the next thing that I wanted to chat to you about was a lovely makeup bag, or should I say a toiletry bag, that I made for my mother-in-law. Now unfortunately, because I've had to post it off, I've actually not got it physically here to show you, but I did take some pictures of it before I sent it off in the post, so I'll be able to slot some of those in so that you can see them. Now my lovely mother-in-law lives down south and we're up in the Midlands, so we've not been able to see her for quite a long time now, so we're really crossing our fingers and hoping that we can see her again soon. But unfortunately she's got to go into the hospital soon, and I asked her what she wanted for her birthday. It's always nice to get someone something that they want, whether I was going to make it or I was going to pick something up for her. So she said that she'd really like a toiletry bag because that would be quite useful for when she goes into the hospital. So I had a little rummage in my stash and I found some lovely spotty grey fabric that I actually had left over from making some cushion covers actually for William's room, and I just thought that was going to work really, really nicely for the outside. It's a kind of cotton duck fabric, so more like an upholstery cotton, so it's got a nice amount of structure to it, which works really nicely for a toiletry bag. I also thought that if it gets all covered in kind of soap and other bits and pieces that a toiletry bag can sometimes get covered in, it will also wash really well in the washing machine, so that was okay. And then I decided to line the inside with a fat quarter, and that was from a subscription box that I got from So Hayley Jane a little while ago. So I used a beautiful bright red fat quarter on the inside. I also put a lovely red zip on the top, and I think the combination of fabrics just seemed to work really well together, and my mother-in-law really, really liked her present, and she said that it's going to be ideal for what she needs it for. I didn't use a pattern for that particular project. I just kind of thought about the measurements that I'd want to make the bag, and then I drew it directly with some tailor's chalk directly onto the fabric itself, and then I cut it out. So it was a really speedy little project that didn't take too long, and it was really, really appreciated. And because it, you know, is so small, I guess something that it could be folded down, it was also an ideal present to pop in the post as well. I love making handmade gifts, and I always try and make them for friends and family whenever I can, particularly if it's for someone that's going to really appreciate it. Because I don't know about you, you know, if you make something for someone and they don't appreciate it too much, then it can be a little bit disheartening. So I do enjoy making things for people, and I know that it's going to be well received, and you know, they're going to enjoy using whatever it is. Speaking of other handmade gifts, I've got a couple of things that I want to show you for my husband, and I've also got a dress that I've made for myself. So I will tell you firstly about the things that I've made for my husband, and then I'll go on to the dress that I made for me as well. So as I said, it was my husband's birthday in March, so I really love making him things for his birthday or for Christmas or basically any kind of celebration, and he really enjoys receiving something as well. But I do like to make him something that's practical, that I know he's gonna wear, and you know, he's gonna basically like to have. I once made him a tie, and I'm not quite sure why, but you know, he doesn't really wear that. So I found that things like pajama bottoms, jumpers, that kind of thing seem to be his favourite things. Apart from, I did make him 2 dressing gowns, and he does wear those. So they were, you know, also good kind of practical presents. But this time I decided to use this pattern, which I've not used before. So this is the Mimi G Style Simplicity pattern, and it's number 8613, and it's available in US sizes extra small to extra large. So that's the pattern there. So it's actually got 3 different versions A to C. So as you can see, there's a 3/4 length arms version. There's this version here, which has got a button placket down the front, and then there's this version here which has got a V neckline. So I decided with this pattern that I wanted to do 2 different things. I wanted to firstly make Neil a t-shirt, and then secondly, I wanted to hack this pattern slightly to turn it into a jumper. So jumpers are something that he loves to wear. He wears them all the time. You know, he comes home from work, puts on a hoodie, puts on a kind of round neck jumper, that kind of thing, made out of some kind of sweatshirting fabric. So I decided that that was going to work really, really well. So firstly, for the t-shirt, I used the version C in the pattern pack here. So rather than using the 3/4 length arms that are on version A, I decided to mix it up and use the sleeves from version C instead. So that seemed to work quite well. This pattern's got raglan sleeves, and that just means that they're really easy to insert. I made both of these projects actually on my overlocker, and then for the t-shirt I just finished off a few little bits and pieces with the twin needle. I think it was just the hem actually that I did on the twin needle on my normal sewing machine, but that seemed to work quite well. So let me show you what I made. I will try and get some pictures or a little bit of video footage of my husband actually wearing these things as well. He's quite difficult to pin down to have his photo taken because he doesn't really like it very much, but let me show you what I did. So I decided to make the t-shirt in a lovely cotton jersey fabric, and the bonus was I had a few scraps of this left over, so I'm planning on making myself a pattern scissors cloth galaxy t-shirt with it. So I've actually got some light blue cotton jersey and some of this left, so I'm hoping to join both of them together to make myself a lovely t-shirt. So it is nice to make the most of the scraps, I always think, if you can. So this is the t-shirt here. Sorry it's a little bit creased, but it's just come out of the washing machine. So yeah, so I've added in one of my Made by Becky labels just on the top there. Not sure where I got those from actually, because I've had them for quite a while. I finished off the sleeves here with a little cuff, so that seems to work quite well. The only thing is about the t-shirt, we found that the fit on Neil, my husband, is a little bit big around the arm section, so I'm probably just going to take this in for him so he feels a little bit more comfortable wearing it, but I'm not quite sure why, but yeah, it just is a little bit kind of larger on the arm. I decided to make this t-shirt in a size medium for him, so let me tell you what the sizing is. So it's available in chest sizes 0 to 32 inches through to 46 to 48 inches. So I decided to go for the size medium, which was the 38 to 40 inches. So on the body, it's absolutely fine in terms of the fit. It seems okay. Now his chest measurement is actually 40. So rather than using, because that's towards the top end of the medium size range, I decided to reduce the seam allowance. I used a 1 centimetre seam allowance rather than the 1.5, as you know it says in the pattern pack, but that worked absolutely fine. And as I said, I made it on my overlocker. So he likes his t-shirt. I got the fabric from a shop called Material Girl Fabrics, and they're based in Nottinghamshire. You can find them on Facebook if you're interested, and they do post out. So it's a lovely quality cotton jersey fabric, and it works really well for this t-shirt, and I'm sure it'll work really well for lots of different t-shirt projects. So the next thing I want to show you is the sweatshirt that I made. So I used version C for this, and then I basically lengthened the arms, and I've added on a cuff as well. So that version there is version C. It was easy enough to lengthen the arms. I basically looked at, you know, other jumpers that he has already, ones that fit him well, that kind of thing. And then I just basically worked out how much I needed to add onto the arms, including the cuff section. So yeah, it seemed to work quite well. For this, I decided to size up slightly in the pattern pack, so I actually made the size large rather than the medium. That was because I wanted him to have plenty of room to get another t-shirt on underneath, or you know, anything basically he wants to layer up for winter. So I use this Cozy Colours jersey fabric, which is really pretty. It's a little bit different because it's got different flecks of colour, if you can see that in the jersey fabric. So I got this from Sew Me Sunshine, and they'd got a few different colours in stock when I actually bought this. I'm not quite sure what they've still got in stock now, but if I can find this version, then I will try and link it in the description box below for you. But this sewed up really, really nicely. The nice thing about this sweatshirt jersey is that it's not too heavy. So if it's a kind of spring day, you know, you just need a bit of a cover up, this works absolutely perfectly, because you're not going to be absolutely boiling when that sun just peeks through the clouds. And I think it's going to be good for, you know, a light summer evening as well, when you just need a little bit of something on. He really likes this. He's worn it quite a lot. It was a really, really easy project to do. It didn't take me too long to make, probably about 2 hours maximum, something like that. I made it all on my overlocker, this project, and it just went through my overlocker like a dream. Like I say, because the jersey's not too chunky, there wasn't, you know, any kind of lumpy bumpy bits that my overlocker kind of struggled with. So he's really pleased with this. He likes the plain round neckline there, and as I said, the same as the t-shirt, it has got raglan sleeves, so you know, easy to insert, and you know, no terrible dramas with that section of the project. So I'm really pleased with this, and I'm sure that he's going to be wearing it for years to come. So that's a real winner in my book. So the final thing that I wanted to chat to you about today is a project that I did as part of the Frugal Frocks Challenge. That was organised by Ruan from the Yorkshire Sew Girl, and also the lovely Sam from Frugalissima. You can find both of them on Instagram and also on YouTube. So this was a challenge that was running mainly on Instagram, although plenty of sewing vloggers, including myself, were taking part in this challenge, and that was to sew up a frugal dress. So you had to use some fabric that you got in your stash, and you had to use some kind of free pattern. Now I've actually recorded a video all about the project that I made, so I won't talk too much about it because I don't want to bore you with all the details if you've already watched that video, but I just thought I'd show it to you because it was something that I made during the month of March, and it was a project that I enjoyed, so why not share it with you again if you don't mind. So I decided for this project to join 2 different free patterns together, both that I got free on Love Sewing magazine. So the bodice and the skirt came from Threadcount Patterns, which this pattern is available in extra small to extra large, and that's called the summer dress pattern. And then I used the sleeves from View A of the Butterick pattern B6657. So it's this version here, the lovely yellow version. So I just love those sleeves. So I just thought, why not merge both of the patterns together to form kind of my perfect dress? So that's what I decided to do. I used this cotton sateen fabric with these gorgeous lemons on that I had in my stash for absolutely ages. I can't remember where I bought this from, but I did check online just the other day and it was available from Fabric Godmother if you are interested. So if they've still got it, then I will try and link it down in the description box for you. But again, this has got a square neckline, which I really, really like. I finished it off with an invisible zip at the back. It's got a square neck at the back and at the front. So, well, I guess the neck's not at the back, but you know what I mean. The kind of section at the back of the neck, should I say, is also square. And I just love the kind of poofy sleeve detailing on that. So I will put in some video footage of me actually wearing it. I'll do a bit of twirling around so that you can see what it looks like on as well. Because I'm kind of sat on the sofa today, I don't think you get the full view if I'm actually wearing it. But I decided that it came up slightly large. I'm not sure what's happening this month because this top came up large and then this dress came up large, but it's all a learning process, isn't it, kind of making things sometimes. So if you watched my other video, you would have heard me say that in the summer dress pattern, I just couldn't find the finished garment measurements, and I looked on the pattern paper. I don't know if I missed them. They may have been there and I've just missed them, but it didn't actually tell me what they were on the back of the pattern. So I kind of fell down with that a little bit, and I used the size small because I thought that was going to be okay, but it still came up rather big for me in the side areas. But never mind, I'm going to take it in and hopefully it'll be okay. Now, what I've done for the moment is I've decided to pin in some fisheye kind of darts on the back of the dress. I'm going to see how that works. I'm going to try it on, see how we go. I might even kind of tack it and, you know, see if it works okay. If it does, then I'll sew them in properly, and that's going to save me unpicking, you know, the side seams or whatnot, and, you know, making it smaller or adding in some other kind of darts or something like that. But I'm really keen to get the fit right on this dress so that I can get the maximum amount of wear out of it, just because I love, love, love this lemon fabric, and it'd just be such a shame if I didn't feel comfortable wearing it. So, but I'm really, really pleased with this overall. I just love the fabric. I love the gathery skirt. It's just really swishy. I like that it's got this kind of, you probably can't see it too well, but it's got a lovely centre band on there, and I just think it works really well with those sleeves that I added on. So I will try and put in some pictures also of me wearing this so that again you can see the full length of it. But it was a beautiful fabric to work with. I love working with cotton sateen. It's definitely one of my favourite fabrics to work with, and you know, I did enjoy using both of the patterns. It's just that I found the summer dress one slightly frustrating because I couldn't find what the finished garment measurements were. But you know, hey ho, it's just one of those things. I enjoyed the process overall, and I loved, loved, love the Frugal Frocks challenge, and it's really inspired me to think about using other free dress patterns in the future, and you know, just exploring a bit more about what I've got in my stash in terms of other, you know, free patterns I've got from magazines and whatnot. So, but you know, I would encourage you to also have a look what you've got in your pattern stash at home. If you have got things that you've downloaded from the internet perhaps, or you know, you've got other things that you've got free on magazines, because I found that I've just got quite a few, and you know, it'd be nice to start to use a few of them really. But yeah, these work quite well for me overall. So if you have had a go at making these particular patterns, I'd love to find out how you got on with them. I'm not sure if I'll use the you know, the full Butterick pattern, but there's 3 different lovely versions of dresses on there, all with different sleeves. That one's obviously sleeveless, then you've got more of a 70s vibe with that one. But yeah, all lovely dresses, so maybe I'll get around to making those at some point, but we'll see. But I hope you've enjoyed learning about what I've made during the month of March, and if you have, I would love it if you could hit that like button and consider subscribing to my channel as well. I'd love it also if you could leave me any comments below. Let me know if you've got any questions about anything that I've mentioned in today's video, and I'm always interested to know what you've been making as well, so do feel free to let me know about that. But until next time, I'm going to leave it there and say thank you so much for joining me today, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.